Okay, I'm curious about this. I'm very curious about this. This is the video I wanted to see the most. This popped
All
up
right,
on my
man, what a
feed.
week. What a week it's been. Look, on paper, the first Descendant should very much be a game that I love. It is a looter shooter with a variety of PvE. You got horde mode missions, dungeons, and boss battles, just to name a few. We're grinding for gear. We got cool characters to customize via this mod system. We got the shared open world spaces with other people running around. I mean, this checks a lot of boxes for me, and is very similar to games that I've sunk a load of time into, including the obvious ones like Warframe, Destiny, and Division. But also, I've enjoyed some of the less popular games people think are bad, like Defiance, Firefall, and Outriders. And I was hoping really that the first Descendant would be another one of those games just to add to my list. But after playing a bunch between the pre-release beta test and now for a few days post-launch, I gotta say, it's just not hitting the mark. I don't love it. I don't hate it either. Well, I do hate parts of it, which we'll get to, but I also think it does a few things quite well, and that's why I'm not surprised there are a lot of people enjoying this game. For starters, like, the gameplay generally feels really good. This notoriously can be difficult for third-person shooters. They tend to lack that sense of impact compared to a lot of first-person shooting games. It's not perfect, no, but I would say that shooting and using abilities is pretty snappy and fairly well done. In fact, I think the highest praise that I would give this game, the best thing that it does, is in fact the gameplay feeling good, and that's a big deal. And on a similar note, I think the movement is well done too. At a baseline, every single class has the ability to sprint, double jump, mantle terrain, and then use a grappling hook. The big thing with this game though is the fact that it accounts for and carries over momentum. So when you're using your grapple hook, like, you can really fly around the environment. Starting from a sprint, you can jump and then hook onto like any part of the terrain or objects. And then while you're flying towards your target, you've got this horizontal control that lets you slightly move left or right. This allows you to basically launch yourself around the side of your target, carrying that momentum with you, and then you follow that up with a second grapple hook some distance away. I mean, you can really just be flying all over the place.
Yeah, it's really
just
cool.
a lot of fun
like
to use,
personally.
especially when that is coupled with a Descendant who already has built-in mobility, like any leaps or any move speed enhancement. It can just be a whole heck of a lot of fun sprinting and swinging around. Another thing that I've enjoyed is the class design. Like, yes, there are some pretty generic characters. Like, you got the basic shooter dude bro, you got the turret guy, you got the one dude who tosses out grenades, you got Elsa, but then there's characters like Bunny. Now, she's been getting a lot of attention for reasons other than her.
Yes. Everybody knows why they love Bunny, okay? All right? Everybody fucking knows why they love Bunny, all right? It's not no pushover, okay? All right?
Her play style, but genuinely, I think she's like one of the coolest design classes that I've played in a
take a look at
shooter.
her crane.
I'm being serious here. The class is built around the concept of charging up this electric meter and then using it to deal massive
just far better.
Area of effect damage. So as you run, you store up this built electricity, and then your various abilities will deal increased damage based on your charge level. So this includes things like lightning emission, which will pulsate AoE damage for every 7 meters you move, or thrill bomb, where you can get an extra burst of AoE damage on call. And then on top of that, after landing from a double jump, you also deal additional AoE damage. And then you couple those mechanics with the speed of light ability, which increases your run speed 50%. And the faster you run, the quicker you build up electricity, and then the more frequently you're pulsating those every 7 meter AoE explosions. It's just crazy, dude. You can also couple this with the grapple hook, and for every 7 meters you move while grappling.
I don't really know which character I personally want to unlock. I really don't know. Like, I honestly don't know which one I want to try going for, to be frankly honest. I just really don't know. So far, I've just been using the ice character the entire time. I just don't really know. I just kind of like her CC or so, where they freeze the enemies and they just stand there for a little bit, especially when you use her C ability. You can like literally like run around in circles of the monster or the boss or so, and they'll stay frozen for a hot moment. So
You will also pulsate additional damage. The end result, like playing this character when all the pieces come together, is you're running around constantly at 150% move speed, then grapple hooking all over the place to get additional bursts of AoE damage every 7 meters you ever move, and then pulsating additional AoE damage on top of that, all while double jumping, because whenever you land, you do more AoE damage, and it's just crazy. Like, it's a real lot of fun, interesting class design. Then we've got the boss fights that are known as Void Intercept battles. These I have found varied and interesting. outside of the fact that every one of them take place in this like single digital arena, I actually thought overall these boss encounters are really good. Interesting mechanics with multiple phases. Even the first couple of boss fights, because
yeah, it's just I just like her CC the most.
that you unlock them as you level
her
up.
CC is what
the
I
first
enjoy
few
the
ones
most.
can be quite challenging.
I
And
just
it
don't know
just
which
gets
other
even
character I
harder
want to
from
unlock
there. They look
personally.
cool.
That's
They're
why.
well animated, and
That's why I haven't been like super hyper focused to like farm like the materials for a certain character, right? I just kind of like I was like I don't know which one I want, to be honest. It's just kind of like I'm just kind of like
of them, especially later on, actually really require coordination and effort with your group. I also like the world and environments. It kind of reminds me a bit of Anthem or Skyforge, if you ever played that heap. Another bad game that I enjoyed. Lots of cool looking like ancient structures and ruins. They got the sci-fi twist all throughout, and they're in these varied settings and locations. You've got like mountainous regions with European inspired architecture, deserts with lots of craggy rocks and metallic industrial buildings, foggy forests that remind me a lot of like the Pacific Northwest.
I think I just finished this area. I just finished this area
Of the US. I mean, all around, it's a cool play space. There's cool structures, a cool setting, maybe a tad generic feeling at times, but overall, I enjoyed moving around this world.
I wish you could increase Bunny's speed. I need my Volt build from Warframe to be a TFD. Bunny sucks for bossing, and for real, getting good teams on Dead Bride is RNG itself. Dead Bride? I don't know if I fought that one. I'm not too sure.
But that too, I think the graphics are pretty solid. Like the launch update, I think it looks good. The game ran really well for me. And then just finally, like I do like the general structure of the game, right? So you got those shared open world spaces. I've always been a fan of this, running around, fighting enemies, doing quests, and then just having random people show up and all of a sudden you're working together to complete this one objective. It's a lot of fun. You go around the world from one quest marker to another, you then clear the zone, and then at the end you basically get what is a dungeon run. You finish that, you move on to the next zone, and that's the progress through this game, interwoven with some story. On top of that, you can do void intercept battles in between.
I think this is the one that I've fought this executioner.
They're actually required as you progress, as well as things like special operation missions for grinding resources.
I think it was the executioner was the last person I fought.
Materials, and then you're also working on your character. You're equipping new weapons when they come up. You're playing with your mods, tinkering your build via that system, enhancing it through other means. And hey, if you like grindy loot games, this is a grindy loot game. There's a lot of different things to grind, especially those 1 to 3% drop chance items you need to unlock certain descendants and weapons, but that's
ugh, yeah, don't remind me about the percentage or something.
Another
don't remind me.
A story which we will get to here in a second. But yeah, as I said, there's plenty I think this game does well. I should enjoy the first Descendant. This video should be, dude, I'm hyped. This game's awesome. I love it. But I don't. And there's a few reasons why. For starters, many of the issues that I had back in early beta tests have persisted through launch. And I'm not just gonna complain here, I will provide feedback as we move throughout as well. So there's some smaller things. Like for one, there's just a lot of rough edges around this game. Things like animation, sound effects, even like the ambient noise. None of this struck me as particularly good. I think this stuff, yeah, it's just a little rough. Also the dialogue, I mean, this is just flat out bad. Like it's not, the VL, the dialogue is not good. Also pretty sure it's not synced up with mouth movement unless I was having a stroke the entire time I was playing this game. Also, the game feels kind of stiff across the board. It's a little harder to pin this one down. I can't really find the exact words, but I would just say something about the way like the characters and enemies move, NPC animations. There's like a lack of natural feel to it all. Just not fluid enough, maybe just not enough to those animations. Not enough keyframes, is that a word for it? I don't know, but is any of this game breaking? No, not really, but again, it is what I would call rough around the edges. Simple fix here, just continue polishing the game, work on this stuff, improve it as time goes on with patches. Easy, right? The biggest hangups for me though, I don't know if they're going to address these, but maybe we'll see. Okay, so the open world, it still feels lifeless. This was the case in the
yeah, because I played this game back in September of the beta, and the problem is like there's only like you can only have 4 people in an instance, and man, dude. Like that was the one thing I didn't like personally either.
The beta, people told me it was addressed and they fixed it. I've not really seen that in the past 3 days while playing. Fact is, if you or someone in the instance of the zone that you're in hasn't started a quest, there's just absolutely nothing happening in these open zones. There's nothing going on. You're not seeing roaming packs of NPCs, not even static groups taking hold in locations. There's no dynamic events occurring, no puzzle.
I'm starting to get sick of TFD in the mid game. I might drop it soon. Yeah. I can see why. I can definitely see why.
to solve. There's no wildlife running around, those little flourishes that really add to a game feeling alive and full. Literally nothing is happening on these maps. It's all just flat, dead landscape. And I don't mean flat like technically flat. I just mean like it's like flatlined. It just feels dead unless someone has started a quest. The world only populates with objectives, with enemies, with events if you, or like I said, another player in your instance, if someone starts a mission at those static markers, that then will spawn in specific enemies and objectives for a mission. Whereas
really, that's interesting. I did not know about that actually. If you drop, give me poison, girl.
for example, take a look at Destiny. This game gets compared to that a lot. Whenever you go into
no, like 100% is like, it's like basically just a mix of Warframe and Destiny together. But the problem is with Destiny, right? What I like about Destiny specifically is like they have open world like public events, and they have like actual life form roaming around and all that. It just feels like the world is more alive compared to the first Descendant specifically. I don't know if it's just an optimization issue that they can't seem to do it, or because it'll make it all laggy and everything like that, right?
To a zone in Destiny, the entire zone is full of activity from,
because for God's sakes, this game fucking kept crashing on me on fucking on day two of the game or so.
From the starts, things are happening. NPCs are holding up locations. There are packs roaming around. You got public events constantly going off. And then if a player starts the mission equivalent in Destiny, if a player starts a patrol in Destiny, that then adds another layer on top of what already feels like a vibrant, lived-in world. Recommendation for the first Descendant: populate the world, fill it with stuff beyond what happens when someone begins a mission. Also, I would say visually, I thought the play space in the world feels a bit sparse, and specifically I'm talking about the amount and the density of things in the environment, things like foliage and trees and buildings. It just all feels a little light, and also the scaling's a little weird. It kind of makes the game feel a little dated, despite the fact that it does graphically look pretty good.
I don't know. Destiny 2 added fishing. Wait, they added fishing?
Here, fill the play space so it feels less like a diorama and more like a living video game world that we're moving through. My second major problem with the game right now has been the quest design is just straight up boring. I'm really specifically honing in on the pacing here.
So yeah, no, 100% because like I said, I played this game back in September, and the whole mission structures itself of what you need to do is it's a lot of the same shit, you know. I would curse your account with no girl character.
So as you play through the game, like I mentioned, you're moving through zones, going from one quest marker to another. You complete them all. You do a little dungeon, and then you move on to the next zone. Maybe you got to go back to town, but that's the general flow.
I heard that the end game is good, but the problem is you have to go through like this whole entire like slog of a fest or so, because it's the same thing with fucking Zenless Zone Zero, right? Because everyone fucking says, oh, the end game is better. The end game is better. So it's like, why do I have to go through like hours of shit in order for the game for it to get good, you know?
Every quest you do, no matter
the same thing with Starfield as well. People say, oh, the game doesn't get good until you get like 40 hours in, 60 hours in, or 80 hours, and I don't remember which hours it is specifically, but it's just kind of like, okay, why do I have to waste like 80 hours of my life or so in order for the game to start getting good, you know? So
out of the zone that you're in, it's all like the same four things. They're either saying kill things, defend a location, collect stuff and bring it back, or capture a location, static or...
Am I having a good time right now? Yeah, I'm definitely having a good time now. But the problem is it's gonna start aging like milk, you know, if they do these mission structures the same way in the next patch update and then so forth, you know. It's gonna be very stale. It's gonna be very boring pretty fast. That's the only thing. Like if they don't give a variety, if they don't do something interesting, something different with mechanically wise with some of these missions or something like that, you know, it's gonna get boring pretty fast.
Or moving. Every single quest in the game, in every single zone, boils down to these four things. Now, this is pretty standard stuff, right? This isn't unique to the first Descendant. Most MMOs, most looter shooters, quests boil down to those four basic things. My biggest issue is the pacing is very, very bad. It's too slow. While you're playing, for starters, everything dies incredibly fast as you're going through that initial progression. This changes as you move into the harder modes and as you play higher level, like the horde mode missions. Things aren't dying very quickly, but as you're going through the zones, there's just a...
It's just bad game design at that point. Good end game is not the same as good game. Yeah, because you have to go through all hours and hours of shit. That's
so much downtime. You're killing things instantly, and there's so much downtime between respawns, between timers counting down, between things moving. The result of which, frankly, was just unengaging and a lot of time just standing around feeling pretty bored because there wasn't anything to do. We were just waiting for a timer to tick down. A group of enemies would show up. We would one-shot them like in less than 5 seconds, and then we would be standing there waiting another 20 or 30 seconds for respawns. So my recommendation here would be to up the pacing of enemy spawns. I think that would go a long way. You don't even have to make like enemies way harder while you were leveling up. I understand like leveling is face roll in a lot of games, right? That's part of the process. The hard part doesn't come to end game. If you want to keep a face roll, fine, but like increase the density of monsters or the frequency of spawns or something so that we're just spending less time just like standing there, just staring around in space. Like it just really made it unengaging. And along those same lines, the boss design everywhere outside of those void intercept battles, which I think are good, the boss design everywhere else is really bad. I'd like it to introduce you to the first Descendant's boss design philosophy. We call it the 3 orbs philosophy.
Yeah, at least from what I've noticed or so, most of the bosses that I fought or so, it's just beating up 3 orbs and then, and then killing the boss. And then he'll respawn back to the respawn point and then bring out 3 orbs again, kill the 3 orbs and then kill him and then,
Take any boss, doesn't matter what its faction is, how it looks, what sort of weapons or skill it has. Take that boss, break its health bar into 3 to 4 sections, and then make them invulnerable every time players break through one of those sections until they destroy the 3 floating orbs. Either destroy them outright or destroy them in a particular order or destroy them all at the same time. 3 orbs, invulnerable boss, kill those orbs, done. 90% of the boss encounters in the game. Like I couldn't believe it. After like my 100th boss of seeing this exact mechanic, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Just make the 3 orbs. That was their design philosophy outside the void intercept battles, because those are really, really cool. My next big thing, and this is a real sticking point here, is that just so blatantly obvious, and this is the case in a lot of grind games, but it feels especially so here. Progression is just clearly artificially stretched out to try to push us towards the cash shop. There's no doubt here with things like the 24-hour build timers. Gee, I would like to skip those. Oh, I can buy doing that? Great.
Or they switch it up where they spawn mobs that are connected to the boss. Oh yeah. Yeah, true. Yeah, the orb respawn if you didn't DPS check it. I played the game solo and I didn't hit the DPS check. I just alt F4.
Or the fact that you've got those a lot of those enhancement materials that you really need for progression, the activators and exchangers and more. Or you got the 1 to 3% drop rates when trying to farm the materials needed for this stuff, which can take players, I don't know, I've seen people saying like upwards of 100 or so hours. I don't have a lot of feedback for this part of the thing, this artificial inflation of progression pushing you towards the monetization. Don't really have feedback here because, let's be honest, this is all done on purpose. This is the repetitive nature of especially free-to-play games, especially free-to-play MMO lights or MMOs. Games are made worse to sell you the solution, right? You've heard that time and time again, that is absolutely the case here. And that leads me to the final thing that I want to talk about, monetization. Now, I'm not going to run through all of the numbers. Plenty of people have already done that. Let me just put it this way. It's like they took inspiration from Warframe. You hear people saying, it's just like Warframe, it's just like Warframe. No. It's like they took the inspiration from Warframe in terms of how they're monetizing the different aspects of the customization and progression. Like, yes, there are a lot of similarities, direct parallels you can draw between Warframe and the first Descendant.
It's like basically grabbing the inspiration from it, but then making it worse. It's basically
like they said, okay, we'll take that baseline. How can we make this worse while simultaneously making more money? That right there pretty much covers exactly how they've monetized this game. Here's some examples, right? Buying Descendants requires you purchasing 2 bundles of premium currency because the Descendants cost slightly more than what a single bundle of premium currency gives you. This is a tried and true anti-consumer premium currency conversion tactic. You sell bundles that reward barely less than what it is people are gonna want to buy. It's scummy, it's always scummy, it's scummy here as well. Or you got the armor dies that are single use, like at least in Warframe when you purchase a...
Wait, they're single use? Was it like that in the beta? I don't remember them being a single use in the beta. I remember changing them to whatever armor I wanted to. Unless it's just been such a long time. I don't remember that being in the beta. What the fuck? I didn't use any of my dyes. That's why. Wow, okay. I did not know that, actually.
Color palette, you can use it as much as you like, however many frames you're trying to customize, whatever parts of it you want to customize. But in this game, you buy one dye, you customize one part, the dye is gone. You lost it. The paint can ran out just like that. Then there's just the fact that aspects of the grind itself put even Warframe to shame, at least for certain things. And I think the big one that a lot of people you've seen pointing out is the fact that ultimate characters...
Single use dye. This is Destiny 2 all over again. Single use. It's like the early days of Destiny 2. Yep. It's like the early days.
Require you to farm
I remember
missions
that too.
with 3% drop reward chances for the part that you want in order for you to even be able to make that ultimate character. If you're not familiar with Warframe or the First Descendant, both games have versions of the characters, the playable classes that are just like, there's the base version and then the ultimate version, which is just a better iteration of that, right? So people want the ultimate one because it's the base one, but just better, flat out. If you're trying to farm that for free, you're looking at repeating missions over and over again with as low as a 3% drop rate. That's very low, let me just tell you. That's very low.
3%.
Or there's the doubling your mod capacity, and this is one of the biggest sources of power in both games, in Warframe and in the First Descendant. However, in First Descendant, the equivalent of the Warframe version, it's 20 times more expensive. Real world money only, by the way, for doing.
God fucking damn, dude. To get an energy activator, you have to get all of this other shit? My God. God damn. Holy shit.
That's the only way you can double your mod capacity. Also, one big note and omission that hasn't been included in a lot of this conversation is the fact that Warframe allows for trading, so you can get these things that cost premium currency in Warframe by trading with other players. No such thing exists in the First Descendant. People will often reference the fact that Nexon has promised they will eventually look at possibly adding trading in the future. Shouldn't exactly be completely putting our trust in Nexon for a reason.
Yeah, because it's Nexon at the end of the day, you know. Nexon does have a tendency of being better. And I heard when you compare to Warframe, it's also 20 times more grindy. Really? I've never played Warframe, so.
Get to right here. In general, the game's monetization model revolves around having, like I said, really long grinds for stuff
I didn't have that much time with Warframe,
to want,
so
and then selling you the means of skipping that grind conveniently in the cash shop, with a low % chance for drop rate just being one example, one means of doing that. And that's also if you can even trust Nexon's stated drop rates.
That's true.
Hint.
That's true.
You can't, or you shouldn't put full confidence in it, because I'd like to remind you, if you were unaware as well, a mere 6 months ago, Nexon was fined $9 million by the Korean FTC. Why? Well, because after an investigation, it was revealed that Nexon was essentially scamming customers for over a decade. So it's been known for a while by people who play their games that Nexon has some of like the—
See, this is why I've never played MapleStory. This is the reason why I've never played MapleStory. Back then, there was 2 games, well, technically 3, but one of them was falling out or so. There was 2 games that was super popular, RuneScape and MapleStory. A lot of my friends played MapleStory. I didn't play MapleStory. I played RuneScape. That's what I played, because I thought I liked it a little bit more personally, right? It's just something about MapleStory just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know. It was just some weird intuition or so that was just like, huh. I kind of don't want to play this. I don't know why, what it is, something about it specifically, but something is rubbing me the wrong way with this game. I just don't know what it is, what specifically it was, but like just something just wasn't like adding up specifically. So yeah, so I played RuneScape compared to MapleStory.
The worst monetization, some of the most anti-consumer monetization practices in the industry. Nexon games have been known for that. It's not unheard of prior to.
It's funny because like I've never played it because they had the worst monetization, right? In RuneScape, right? All they had specifically, at least back then, from what I remember, was you had the normal like free-to-play players, right? And then you had the VIP like membership kind of type of thing. I remember that, where they had like exclusive like area zones for members, like exclusive like missions for members, specific gears for them, and all this other stuff. Maybe one day we'll play RuneScape or so. At least the classic one, the classic RuneScape. It's been like a long time since I opened that game. My account does not exist anymore, unfortunately. I opened it up one day to check to see if my account actually existed. It doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. So yeah.
This whole
unfortunately
$9 million fine debacle. But this story was on a whole nother level. So the TLDR of the situation is this. Nexon sold in MapleStory what are essentially loot boxes that reward players these powerful stat boosts. So you would purchase and open these items called cubes, and when you opened it, you would get a random chance and rewarded multiple boosts in power for your character.
20% blueprint drops. It took me 15 tries to get the drop. The insulting part is when it dropped
Well, there was a particular combination of outcomes that most players wanted from these cubes. Basically, it was a really strong boost and pretty much benefited everybody. It's a lot of the reason. It is what fueled a lot of these cube purchases. People wanted this one particular outcome for a powerful stat boost for their character. It turns out, in their investigation, the Korean FTC learned that for a time, over the course of a decade, that reward that people were essentially gambling on to get, that was never possible. The thing that many people wanted, that most powerful outcome of these cubes, could never be obtained. You could buy 1 billion cubes, and within this window of time, the probability of getting it was goose egg, actually 0. That is crazy, and that is exactly why they got fined $9 million, or the equivalent of $9 million, because this was in Korea. Also, if you're curious, none of that money went back to the customers, by the way. Wow, what a surprise. And you know, hey, it's a free-to-play game. They got to make money somehow, of course. I'm not saying they shouldn't be charging money for anything in this game, right? I don't expect games to just be free. In fact, my dream world is that free-to-play model vanishes and we go back to box prices and we get rid of all of this other garbage that's been pulled from the game, stripped from the games.
It's just the problem is inflation in it on itself. There's just like, you know, if this game costs like $30 or so, not a lot of people are gonna buy it or so, because, you know, it's just expensive at the end of the day. Hey Kid Boo, how you doing there, hun? Like I said, like, it's just the problem is like I can't chill out money or so for like every game that comes out, you know. It's just impossible. It's just impossible for me specifically, you know. It's just money wise, it's just not probable for me. So
these games being made worse for them to sell us the solution, that would be my dream. That dream ain't ever happening because I'm not delusional. I understand we're not going back to that. I also understand lowering the barrier to entry and free to play. It is a boon for a lot of people, and it brings a lot more players to the game, and it maybe certainly has more people playing the game than would otherwise, whatever the reason, right? A free to play game means more access for more people for the game, and that is a good thing. But I will say there are ways of doing free to play monetization and not having it feel like
that's why for me specifically, right? That's why I invested on the Xbox Game Pass, because oh my god, I can play so many games or so on Xbox Game Pass. It's such a blessing to have Xbox Game Pass. I'm gonna be honest with you. I ain't no fucking shill or anything, but man, dude, I love Xbox Game Pass because I can play so many different games without me having to pay like $60, $30, $70 or anything like that for some of these titles. So it feels pretty great personally.
You're making the base game demonstrably worse to try to shove me into the cash shop. And as I said, it's really like, to me, it seems like they took the base structure. They took the idea of how Warframe monetizes their game, and they just said, how can we make this even worse and make more money off these people?
I love Game Pass. Game Pass is one of the greatest things to invest. One of the coins you can buy in the first Descendant costs $70. Holy shit. At least Warframe got a discount feature whenever you come back from a long time after a week. I see.
On just being fresh off of getting the largest fine that the Korean FTC has ever given out in their whole history because they were scamming customers out of money, basically. That leaves my trust in the company doing the right thing, being consumer friendly in any of their decisions and how they're designing and monetizing this game, and tying the design of the game and the grind of the game into the monetization. My trust of them doing that by the books, it ain't very high. It was only 6 months ago they got fined $9 million. Not super confident that they're doing fine by us, right? And that they've got our best interest in mind. Not that any games company does, right? But look, with all of that said, I have no doubt that there are people enjoying this game right now, and they will be in the future. It's just not me. Like, for all the things that I do like about the game, and that was a long list.
I can definitely see myself dropping this game later on in the future. So it just depends how I'm gonna play this game specifically, right? I can definitely not see myself playing for such a long time, but I can play it for like the short bit or so, right? You know, enjoy it for the short bit, you know, for its lifespan or so, and then move on afterwards and play a different game, you know. So that is if you're not on the tip of the game, it is hard to catch up for real.
That was probably like a third of what this whole video's runtime is going to be. I do like things about this, but I dislike just enough that right now
Yeah,
I've
there
got
are some things
zero
that I like about the
motivation to
game
keep
too
playing.
as well.
And that's not what I was hoping for this week. I know people say, oh, you're just rage baiter YouTuber. You're just being contrary.
No, I'm so tired. I'm so tired of people saying like, "Oh, you're just rage baiting. You're just hate bandwagging and stuff like that." No, these are like just genuine criticisms. It's the same thing. The same thing when happened when Zenless Zone Zero came out, right? There was so much hate about it because it's like a lot of it is justified, you know. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, the game is boring. Like ZZZ is actually literally in the title. It puts you to sleep. So it's just kind of like, you know. And then people criticize me specifically. It's like they tell me it's a skill issue or so for me to earn a 10 pull or so in a gacha game where it's programmed the way how it is when it's super linear of earning currency, right? And I'm playing the way how the game is, right? I didn't unlock any of the other stuff that I just recently just unlocked just earlier in the stream or so, right? None of that stuff was available for me, right? Because the game didn't explain anything to me. And there's just so much fucking tutorial in the game, at least super early. I finished like what, the prologue or the first chapter or whatever the fuck it is. And they're still fucking explaining shit to me. And I'm just like, fuck, dude, can you shut the fuck up? Like I said, like, I don't mind tutorial stuff, but like, it's not my first game, okay? All right. You know, it's not my first gacha game. It's not my first game. You know, let me just skip it. You know, or let me just don't explain. Have an option or so to explain some things. Don't explain some things. You know, I don't know. That's just, I don't know. I just have my grime or so with Zenless Zone Zero because it's just like, it's just boring. It's just really boring. Did he reach the end game? You can only give your review when you reach the end game. Gacha games are a mess a lot of the times. Yeah, but the problem is like, you know, because like time is money, right? Now these days, time is like money, right? Specifically, the problem is, right, with Zenless Zone Zero, it's like you're just wasting your time. You're honestly just wasting your time with Zenless Zone Zero. When it comes to at least that gacha game specifically, like there's just nothing interesting. The combat is the most watered down combat I've ever seen in my entire life. I will literally show Sage the combat in this game specifically when he comes back, when he's available or so in a Discord call. I will show him how I play this game, right? And how dumb that this game is. Like, I only use 2 buttons. That's it. I only use 2 buttons in this game, and that specifically is all I do. So hey man, you know what? You don't need to reach endgame to put your opinion, okay? All right. I understand that Mr. Tectone over here likes to say, no, you gotta finish the game in order for you to fucking put your own opinion. I'm gonna be honest with you. No, you do not, okay? Like, you can put at least put in more than like 4 hours, at least more than 4 hours in a game or so to understand and be like, okay, now I understand the premise of the game itself. And the game seems a little boring. So I put in 8 hours. And I only got enough for 110 pull on that banner. And that was pretty much it. And I was just like, yeah, I'm not wasting 8 hours of my life to get one single 10 pull, you know? I understand that they might open up more stuff and you can get more pulls and stuff like that. But I'm just not going to do that personally. Like I said, I'm playing the game off stream. I'm not going to stream the game. I'm really not. I just have it like sometimes in the background with the story or so. While I'm doing something else, you know, and that's pretty much about it, so. In Warframe, there is no point in catching up because you will go back to doing survival missions, going to the highest rounds again for end game. I tried to get back into Warframe, but it was a trash. I never played. I never played that much Warframe. So is it because what people? Because what about people who cannot literally get past a certain point? It's just the problem is like it's the same analogy of saying like, oh, you know, remember when Starfield came out, right? And a lot of people say, oh, the game doesn't get good until like 60 hours or something, or 40 hours or 80 hours into the game, and it's just kind of like, why do I need to spend 40 hours of the game where it's boring and it's just so tedious to the point that it gets good afterwards? That doesn't make any sense. Why can't it just be good at the beginning of the game? I just don't understand, you know? Why can't it just be fun, you know? Yeah, with Warframe, you need a friend to help grind, makes things so much easier. Me and my friend had a combo frame to max the resources we get through missions. Yeah, I have a few things that increases like drop rate of resources or some stuff like that, you know, for me. So Imagine saying that to a Sekiro player. Shit ton of people would just give up.
You're just trying to be negative. You're just trying to hate. Look at my channel. I tell you, I love and want nothing more than to just be gushing about games. And as I mentioned, I love this genre.
So dumb. It's so dumb that we live in a time and a frame where you can't criticize a game because like, oh, did you complete the game? Did you reach end game? Oh, how many hours did you put in the game or so? You know, it's just
what I would consider
up,
or
like,
what
seriously.
people probably consider bad games. Games like Outriders, games like Defiance, games like Firefall. Maybe a lot of you haven't even heard of those games, right? But I enjoyed them. And I was kind of hoping that this was going to be it. Despite the Nexon tie-in, I was hoping that this game was going to do it, but it just really hasn't. It really hasn't. I felt bored after just a couple of days. I felt that way after a couple days in the beta, and then the second beta test that I played, and now at launch, it's the same thing. And really, ultimately, I think that problem boils down to the poor pacing of the quest design and the game's world.
Yeah.
And that's all beyond the microtransaction discussion. Honestly, the game just feels like a worse version of Warframe, Division, or Destiny. Like a lot of games developed by Nexon, it's not the worst out there, but it's also far from the best. Oftentimes what they...
It's just very bland. It's just very bland, very mid, you know? Very the middle of the road kind of type of situation with this game specifically. Like I said, because I played it in the beta, right? Everything was still the fucking same. Like nothing really changed from the beta that I played to now. So
they do is they'll make games that are just good enough to get people in the door, get them hooked on some sort of progression loop.
I could only you could only critical Sekiro when you beat it.
And then do everything in their power to get them swiping. But hey, I get it. It's a free game. If you want to check it out, by all means. If you like grinding games, this is one that you can play and you can grind, and I'm all for that. I play ARPGs, I play MMOs. I like this genre generally, except for this one.
There just hasn't been a really good MMO. That's about it. So
I get it, and there's something to there being a new thing for people to check out, and that in itself can be valuable to people. But I'll also say there are better grinding games that you could play, and that I think would be it would be time better spent. I'm gonna keep my eye on this one, right?
Yeah, no, like that's understandable because now these days it's like time is money now. Like your time, like you're spending your time or so is very limited now these days. So it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like, well, it's like what do I do? You know, what do I do here now? You know, so yeah, like I said, it's understandable. It's completely understandable. You know, like I get it what he's trying to say. You know, even for me specifically, time. I can't waste too much of my time specifically. You know, even though it's leisurely enjoyable, right? Like leisure stuff, like leisurely enjoy playing video games on the side or so offline or watching an anime or anything like that. Like I can't do any of that stuff specifically because I'm always busy. You know, either editing a video, working on an art piece or whatever other shenanigans and stuff like that, you know, or doing some voice acting stuff that I need to do or so for a project or so. And yeah, that's pretty much it. People can review Elder Ring until they beat or show achievement fraud. Yeah, like I said, like I played this game since I played first Descendant or so since back in September. I put like 18 hours into it, like on the stream. I put 18 hours on that stream, and I played it with Insomnia. We played it together, and it's the same thing. It's the only thing that has changed or so is like these weird little outposts or so where they increase the enemies or something like that or whatever it's called or so specifically. But overall, that's pretty much it. Like, there's some things that I do like about the game, and then there's some things that I don't like about the game specifically. So, but yeah, we'll be trying out the first Descendant in a bit or so. But anyways, that's pretty much the end of the video. Anyways, you guys can let me know down in the comment section what you guys think about the first Descendant. Are you guys playing it? What do you guys think about it? You know, leave your opinions, comments, and down below if you think it's a pretty good decent game, it's an alright game, trash game, terrible game, won't play it, uninstall it, I'm gonna go play ZZZ instead. Or you're just gonna ZZ off this game, you know. But anyways, like I said, you guys take care, you guys be safe, and I'll definitely catch you guys on the next video. Peace.